Hey everyone, this is Coach Angie. You're watching the Council of Coaches on Clean Money Media, and today I want to talk about financing and budgeting and making a budget and making a plan. The first reason why we have to manage our finances is stewardship, and I learned that in my own life. I feel very strongly by the grace of God and the things that God has given me is because I was a steward of the finances He gave me. And this was even before I was born again. So it's a principle that works. So I remember the first time I got a salary. I've worked for 30 years in different capacities. From the first time I got my first job, was not a Christian, not born again, but immediately I got my first pay. I used to manage a restaurant in town at London House called Pasara downstairs, and I took a piece of paper and I wrote my salary, and then I listed everything that I'd done with my salary for that month, and then I took the receipts and then I stapled them together. I have a file of all that so I can track every shilling that I've ever spent. That's called stewardship. And once you are a steward and responsible with your money, you will receive more. That's a big secret as to why we don't get more, because you're not a steward. You cannot account for it, Why we do a budget and why we make a plan is because there's accountability which is needed. So if you call yourself a Christian, then you have to be accountable for your finances, You've got to track what you're doing with your money and just make a plan. So I remember I started with a file, then I started with notebooks, now I've gone to the computer. So you're moving along, but all you're trying to say is I'm accountable for what I have done and how I've spent my money. So that's a very key. Even as you start with your plan, the whole idea of having this budget is it should be written out somewhere. It should be written out on paper, or it should be written out in your computer, or on an Excel spreadsheet. But somehow we need to know, what did you do with your money? This is the amount of money I received. If you're removing your tithe, paying rent, paying school fees, I bought food, and have all your receipts. Be in the habit of getting receipts. And the whole idea of a budget is a financial plan. Then you need to reflect, so you need to sit down at the end of a month and reflect and see if your finances match up. Did I overspend? Did I underspend? What's the plan for next month? How do I improve on my spend? That's very, very important. People say it's a tedious process, but it really works. I keep all my receipts now, even in shoe boxes. I have them. They just occupy space, but they're there. Because then you create history. In all the organizations that I worked, we would look at when we're looking at our finances, we'd look at what's happening, what happened last year, what happened now this year, and project what's going to happen next year. So it's important to have a history. What's the backup plan? What's advising your finances? If you want to start a business, have you really thought through it? Have you sat down and thought, what are all the different financial components that are going to make up this business? And there are many things that we forget. How are we going to run it? Do we have a petty cash? Do we have the finances to run it for 2 years without going back into our pocket? What's the rent? What's the capacity? What do I need to do? How many products do I need to sell to break even? So a financial plan is just you putting your head together and really looking at the finances of your business, of the family, of the organization, of your department, the people who are working with you and for you, and so that you make it better. So you can really spread it out. But I think it's very important. So I think I'd start with asking you to log your finances. Just keep a record of the month, the year, and what you've been doing with your money. Then now try to create a budget from that, create a plan. What should I do? What shouldn't I do? And maybe I'll end with this. There are people who live very far away from the city, but their commute is very expensive. Yet you could live closer to the city, pay a little bit more money, but it would be made up by the commute. You could walk to work. I don't know. Just start thinking about what we can do. How do I share a house? How do we share transport? How do we pool cars? How do we just make life easier and save a little bit more? And of course, there has to be saving. I think I was taught very well. I think this was Bishop Oscar Murillo when I used to attend our chapel. So it's important. That's where I learned it from. That when you take your increase or your income, and you should take 100%, so we're Christians, so 10% goes to tithe, 20% should go into savings for investment, and 10% saving for something that maybe I'm just going to use, maybe if I need a TV or something like that, that's the 10%. So what that means is that you only use 60% of your income. Whatever comes to you, only 60% is yours. And I think I've told you before, but I'll tell you again, when a farmer harvests a product, or like he harvests, whatever he harvests, he keeps the best of that product for the next planting so that he can get another harvest. So when you spend 100% of your income, what you've done is you've eaten your seed. You've eaten what can be used for the next season. So it doesn't matter how little you earn. It doesn't matter what is the lowest denomination of what you can save. You must save, and you cannot eat 100% of your income or your salary or your profits. Something is wrong. If you cannot do the 60-40, pick a percentage and say, I will save this, and save, so like the 20% should be saved in a place where you can't access it. So it's like a fixed deposit. You fix it for 5 years, 4 years, 3 years. You really must become people who learn how to save, because that means when you harvest, you're eating everything. So when it comes to planting season, you're looking at each other like it's because there's nothing to plant. Don't eat everything. Leave something. God bless. Bye-bye.
This is Clean Money TV.